Welcome to Behind the Seams. And our guest tonight, I'm so excited about. It's Nick Weta of the brand West Major. And Nick is an apparel entrepreneur who is doing it. Like, he is overcoming those obstacles. He is actually selling product. He has stuff on celebrities. He's been in business for years. You guys, I can't tell you how hard it is to start a clothing business. It is really difficult. Like I said, all the stars have to align. And so, a lot of people don't make it. There's a lot of things to have to overcome. And if somebody is making it and they're overcoming and they're doing it, we all need to support them, first of all. So I want to put Nick in the spotlight so that everybody here can actually buy from him, spread the word about him. But I also want him to tell you guys what it took to become who he is, to become this brand, so that if you are trying to do the same thing, then maybe this is a little bit of education and inspiration. I'm going to let Nick tell his story. Throughout these, we start from childhood and we go all the way up to today. And this is the first time I'm hearing his story too. We don't pre-interview or anything. So I'm really excited to hear what it took to become Nick. Let's give him a round of applause. This is yours. Keep it real close. I don't even know if it's working, but we're going to pretend it is.
Hello.
So make yourself comfortable.
Okay. I wasn't that nervous, but then when you said I had to talk into a mic, for some reason that makes it more scary. Yeah. Is this good?
I think so. Can you guys hear us? Okay, good. Hopefully at home they can hear us. This is really what the mics are for, because this room's small enough, but we're working on that right now. So if you're at home and my mouth is just doing this for no reason, you can't hear me. Sorry. All right. You want to sit with me?
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right. So Nick, I'm going to probably hand this over to you, because then you can really take us through the journey.
Cool.
And we're going to start here. I always ask everybody to tell us about you as a child.
Yeah. Okay. And I press this up one.
Sorry, the bottom one.
Bottom.
Pointing down.
Okay. Kind of an unimpressive slide here, to be honest. I feel like I could have maybe gotten a few more photos to tell my childhood story, but that's me. That's my sister. I also have two parents. They're not in here. But I guess, these were just two photos I randomly had on my computer. And I remember even at a young age, like being very picky about the clothes I wore for some reason. I was just like very particular. And growing up, I wasn't a very good athlete, but I loved art. So I drew a lot. And then when I got into middle school, I started playing drums and really got into music. So kind of like my whole childhood up until when I went to college, I was just super creative and made art, played music, played in bands. And I think that's kind of being in music too, kind of reinforced my interest in like clothes and vintage clothes.
What kind of music? Like, was it country? Because
it actually really wasn't. Okay. It was more like a lot of dad rock, they call it today, which I got from my dad. So I just listened. Switch hands. I just listened to a lot of classic rock, and that was kind of and all different types of rock music and blues, and I played in a jazz band, so a lot of different stuff. But a lot of the great classic rock bands back in the 70s wore Western shirts. So that was kind of the like original seed, where I would go to these vintage thrift shops as I got older, and I would find these cool vintage Western shirts from that era. And that, that's kind of where like some of those connections started to get made.
And I wanted to ask what instrument you played.
Drums.
Ooh,
played the drums. Yeah, it was fun. So I guess, did I go up or down? Okay. So skipping a little ahead here, I kind of just put photos together to kind of tell different chapters. I don't know how much detail to go into in these different chapters, but
well, this is meant to go into like, did you go to school? Did you not go to school?
Okay.
What
right.
took you to this place?
So I went to Arcadia High School here in Phoenix.
Hey, that's where my daughter went.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So that's me graduating with some of my friends. Then I went to San Diego State. I was going to go to U of A. This was the only other school I applied to and somehow got in. And at the time, I don't know if it's still the case, but it was the cheapest out-of-state school in the country. It was actually the same price as U of A. And so I was like, let's do that. And I don't really have a ton of photos, but I was in a fraternity. That's me right there.
Which one?
This guy.
Which fraternity?
Oh, it was called SIGET. And fraternities can get a bad rap, but this one was really cool. We had the highest GPA on campus, so the cool fraternities thought we were nerds, but we thought we were cool. And I met a lot of people through this experience that kind of led to me starting this brand too, which I'll touch on. After school, I moved to Pacific Beach.
Wait, what did you major in?
Business. So I just got like a business degree. When I got to college, I left drums behind, and through college, I kind of leaned more into like my business, entrepreneurial kind of interest, and kind of lost touch with that more creative side, I guess, for whatever reason.
Were you thinking just this is a good thing to major in? I can do a lot with it, or did you have a specific business in mind? Or
I really didn't. I mean, I grew up in Phoenix, and a lot of people are in like real estate and things like that. So I'd been around a lot of like finance related things just growing up and in college, and so I thought like maybe I'll do something in finance, which I had no business being in, you know. But yeah, so I really didn't know. I really had no idea. So I just thought I want to work for myself one day, maybe, so I'll get a business degree. Yeah.
being an entrepreneur was the goal.
That was kind of the goal. Yeah. So then I graduated. I didn't know what to do. I lived in PB, Pacific Beach, and surfed a lot with my buddies. And I got a job in software sales. So that was the first real job. And I don't have a photo from that, but that guy on the right was, this was at like a Christmas party. He was one of my managers. And that shirt right there was a vintage Western shirt that I had purchased in college, which was another kind of little seed where I bought this shirt and I was like, God, I really like this. Why can't I buy something like this new today?
What year was this?
This was probably, I think I bought that shirt like sophomore year. I graduated in 2012, and then this was probably 2013 or 2014. It went in that photo. So that was like when I first started to think like, could I make Western shirts? And it was like, no, I don't know how to do that. And but yeah, so it just kind of these seeds started to get planted along the way. While I was in sales, I realized I hated sales, and me and my friend here started a podcast, and we had like an HD video podcast on YouTube, and this was in like 2013 around then. We actually had like pretty good downloads because there weren't a lot of people doing it at that time. And we would just interview interesting people, and that's kind of when the creative door started to open again. And I really liked hearing people's stories, and so I decided I wanted to get into documentary filmmaking. So then I moved up to
Wait, why? Why got you inspired to do that?
So well, I like talking to people and like having a YouTube channel, and YouTube was kind of starting to blow up at this moment in time. There was kind of this wave of like new media companies coming onto the scene, and it was just like a really exciting thing. And I don't know, I remember being at my sales job and just thinking like, man, I'm just gonna do this 5 days a week forever, you know? And then and I would see other people in more creative fields making a living and getting by, and I just thought like, you know, I want to try to do that. So yeah, there was just a lot of stuff going on at the time, and there was I don't know if you guys remember Vice.
Magazine?
Yeah, magazine, and Vice News. So this was like right when Vice was blowing up too, and Shane Smith was like this rock star and the man, and I thought he was really cool, and so I wanted to get a job there, and I applied. There was a slightly updated version of the deck. I actually ended up removing this story, but
It says, I'm determined to
yeah.
work for
So
Vice.
I couldn't get a job there, and so I made a YouTube video they had just launched Vice News. It was like they only had like 100 subscribers to it. And I was applying for a sales job because that was the only experience I had. So I went around and I got all these people to subscribe to Vice News, and I filmed it, and it kind of went a little bit viral. And Shane Smith commented in the video and was like, email me. So I flew out to New York, and he was like, we're going to hire you. And so I was like, I can't believe it. I got a job at Vice, you know?
That is so awesome.
And
of you.
it was crazy. And it was kind of this first moment where it was like, you can just go out and do stuff, you know? But I kind of went around the VP of sales, you know, and I think that kind of pissed him off. And over the next few months, I kind of just stopped hearing back from him.
Wait a minute, but you were working there?
No, so Shane was like, we're going to hire you.
Okay.
But we need to like, you know, move some budget stuff around. So he's like, give us like a couple months. We'll send you a formal offer. And then they did, but it just kind of like fizzled out. But during that time, it was for a sales job, and I was shooting and editing more videos.
You don't want to be a salesman.
I'm kind of like, I kind of want to just keep editing video. Like shooting this was so much fun. I just wanted to keep doing this. And I had friends that were in LA now and working in TV. And so that's why I was like, let me just charge up there and see if I can get into that industry.
I have to show you afterwards my first brand in LA that I owned. We were in Vice magazine. I have some really cool pictures.
That's
after the
cool.
stream, I might show you. I'll
That's
show you
awesome. Very cool.
That was
That's
a really
awesome.
cool magazine.
They were awesome, like back in the day. I don't keep up much with it now. I don't know where it's at, but yeah. So that's
How clever.
Yeah, it's like, and a lot of these were just moments of me kind of reconnecting, I feel like, with that more creative part of myself that I, was when I was growing up. So I moved up to LA. I don't have a picture of my apartment, but it was right there. That's my Prius getting towed. And I kind of just like got a job at a media company, and then I got a job as an assistant to this guy. It was like assistant jobs for producer people, and then that led to another one, and then eventually I ended up at this company with these people. It was called Den of Thieves, and they did big award shows like the VMAs, and that was kind of their bread and butter. And then they did unscripted reality TV stuff. That was the last show I worked on. It was a remake of The Gong Show. Yeah. Mike Myers was the host. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
It's just The Gong Show again?
It was just The Gong Show.
Okay.
It made it one season.
I did not even know that they brought that back.
Yeah.
Why didn't that make it? That's great.
So I don't know if this is boring, but yeah, kind of during this time, I realized I wanted to start my own business. I didn't want to work in TV anymore. I was getting burnt out, and I still had this idea of Western shirts. It was like always kind of tapping on my shoulder. I had restarted my podcast, and just to kind of talk to interesting people. And I talked to this guy. I don't know if any of you have heard of the clothing brand called Corridor. It's like a menswear brand out of New York. And I talked to him, and he kind of had an inspiring story. So I kind of started thinking about Western shirts more and more, but didn't know what to do, had no idea where to start. And yeah. And by this point, I'm like 27. And then, so this is where things kind of start to turn. So this guy was like one of the most important people in the story. So his name's Stephen Borelli. He started a clothing company called Cuts Clothing. So they do like $40 million today. It's huge. At the time, he was like just about to start his Kickstarter campaign. And I met him through that school experience. And he randomly just stopped in my apartment one day and was like, yeah, dude, I'm going to start this company called Cuts. We're going to make t-shirts. And I was like, no way. I have this idea for Western shirts. And he was like, you can do it. And he had spent the last year figuring out how to launch a clothing brand. So he's like, yeah, you need to find a pattern maker, and you need to get a tech pack, and then you take that to a factory.
So what year are we talking?
This is like 2017.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. 2016,
This
2017.
is right before we met you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he kind of just like pointed me north, basically. And so I decided like, I'm going to do this. And so this was like the very first sample I started working. I found a pattern maker. Over that year, I thought of the name. I worked with a bunch of different pattern makers, trying to just learn through the process. Took sewing classes. This is a shirt spread out across my bed. And then I ended up finding a factory. We were shooting the Kickstarter campaign video. We launched a Kickstarter. We raised like 17,000, which was pretty good. And then on the far right, you see how tight that sleeve is around that guy's arm. So basically, all the shirts were too skinny in the sleeve. So I shipped them all, and everybody was like, dude, I can't bend my arms.
Oh, no. Wait a minute. Okay, this is a great teaching moment. Let's just pause for a second, because this is what I love. So first of all, the fact that you went ahead and took sewing classes, I'm really impressed. You know, like a lot of people are afraid of sewing, and not necessarily that you have to know how to sew if you're going to start a clothing brand, because you are hiring the people to do all of this for you. You probably shouldn't be the one sewing your stuff. You want somebody that has been sewing for a long time to be making your stuff so that it comes out okay. And it takes years to be very good at sewing and to be able to make it look like it was manufactured. And your samples have to look like they were manufactured and be sewn on industrial machines, blah, blah, blah. So, but the fact that you learned how to sew probably helped you a lot to figure out what it is that you're asking people to do, and, you know, why it's so difficult and why it costs a lot to hire them to do it correctly and all of those things. So do you feel like that was a benefit for you to be able to
for sure. And it's like, it still helps today because, just factories will try to kind of cut corners and stuff, and just being able to like open up a seam and check their seam allowance or see if notches are lined up and things like that.
And quality control, and figure out why something is wrong because you opened up the seam and you realize they took the wrong seam allowance.
Yeah. No, definitely. I still use that. I mean, I still practice sewing. I'm not great, but it does help you communicate with the people that are sewing your stuff.
And the fact that this sleeve thing happened to you, you're not alone. I mean, every brand I've ever worked with has had something like a story like that, because there's so many places where things can go wrong. And you have to make multiple samples before you're finally happy with the one that you're then going to manufacture. And it's really expensive to make multiple samples, to have that pattern adjusted and go on to the, second sample, and then another adjustment and the third sample. And each time you're paying the pattern maker and you're paying the sewer, and all that money is investing into this one thing that needs to be perfect before the tech pack can be made, and then before it can be sized into different sizes, and then before it can actually be manufactured. So people run out of money just getting through that. And in order to run out of money, so they don't run out of money, they'll stop, even if it's not perfect, and just go for it. And then things like that will happen. Or in the middle of manufacturing, something might happen. And Sherry's told her story on one of these behind the scenes. You can watch her story, and just one little thing happened where her files got converted from inches to centimeters in the middle of the cutting process, and everything got cut miniature. And those are things that happen to everyone. And that's why I said in the beginning, this is hard. You need to learn some things before you jump in and just start hiring people, and be prepared to overcome those obstacles. Big brands, if a big mistake like that happens, they can overcome it financially. A lot of times it puts small brands out of business. So I'm so happy that didn't put you out of business. Probably almost did.
I've had many close calls. And this stuff still happens too all the time. Like, not that, but different variations. And so I also think there's only so much homework you can do. Like, at a certain point, you just have to charge in and kind of start just taking your licks and learning. I mean, that's kind of how I've learned most of the big things, is through making mistakes. Totally. So, so we launched it. Then I fixed the sleeve, relaunched it, launched a website, left the TV job, started bartending so I could do this during the day. Sold my first shirt online, and then I think this is I don't know if there's a more updated version.
Update.
That's okay. We'll bounce around. So I decided to move back into my mom's house at 30. And that was the room. And the plan was I was going to move home, save money, bartend here in Phoenix, and then move back to LA. And it was working for like 6 months. I did this pop-up here. This is all stuff I borrowed from my mom. And this is the first pop-up. I sold one shirt. I joined this fabric program, which was awesome. And it was through that I met Jamie, who does all my technical pattern making now. And then I would just drive back to LA all the time and crash at my sister's apartment. And then like 6 months into that, COVID started.
Wait a minute. So you're in your sister's apartment with all these bags of clothes?
Yeah.
And she's cool with that?
Yeah, she was cool with it.
Wow.
I would just kind of come in and out, you know?
Oh my God. That's a lot. Yeah. So that's another thing to think about if you're starting a brand. Where are you going to put all your inventory? Where are you going to put all your rolls of fabric once you've received them before they get cut? You know, things like that. There's these logistical things.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about joining Fabric?
Yeah.
I would love for you to share the experience. Basically, Nick won our or was accepted into a program that we had in our old building that the apparel entrepreneur roadmap I was talking about used to be there was a version of it that we called a designer in residence, where if you got selected to be one of the designer in residence, you got access to the whole entire program. And I was the one that actually went through. It wasn't digital. I went through and taught you everything. And then you got an office at Fabric and just other perks and things like that. So he was one of, I think, 6 people that time that went through that program. And that's just one of the days where I think we were learning flats. It looks like we were probably drawing flats. So teaching you guys to draw flats or teaching you specs or textiles or things like that. So they already had to have something that we could, go with. It wasn't just like, I have an idea. So the fact that you came in with all this, all this pretty pre-knowledge was really helpful. Yeah. But hopefully it helped go further. And Jamie was one of our pattern makers. So yeah. Connecting you to Jamie gave you a good pattern maker. That
was probably ended up being the most valuable. I mean, I still work with her years later, and she's very good. And I think that's the main thing is it's just like finding the right people to work with is like makes or breaks you. And by just getting involved in things like this is what opened that door and saved me. Because at the time I was living here, my factory still kind of had control over my pattern and things were going south with them. And so Jamie kind of like managed to get it and then redigitized it for me and allowed me to like find a different factory. But also like, yeah, we just learned a lot. You brought in a lot of speakers and, it was just a nice, part of it is just not feeling alone, I think, when you're doing stuff like this. And so just having other people around you also trying to attempt a clothing business helps.
Yes.
A lot. Yeah. So, so COVID happened. I think I joined too. I think it was right around COVID.
It was right before.
Yeah. And that really threw a wrench in things. My factory shut down. Everything just shut down and I had no inventory. So I was just at my mom's house for like a year. But we got through it. I got into my first store, Rooster Bus, which is in Old Town. So this was kind of like a 2-year chapter of just kind of getting it off the ground, surviving COVID, getting into my first store and meeting people at Fabric. I did rearrange this slide, but we'll roll with it. So then I moved into my friend's house and operated out of this garage right here. I had another friend whose dad gave me a free office space. I got into a store in Tucson. This is one called Cave and Post here in Phoenix.
Can we learn how you got into these stores?
Yeah. They kind of happened organically through just building the brand on Instagram.
So they came to you?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm trying to remember. Typically it was like, maybe Rooster Bus followed me on Instagram. And so I was like, maybe I should reach out to him, and I did. And then sure enough, he was interested.
Did you have a lot of followers at that time, or was it just kind of maybe you were posting the right stuff?
Really? I mean, I had started posting so at this point, it's like 2021. I had started posting on Instagram in like 2017. So at this point, I had like a few thousand. It wasn't, huge, but somehow enough to get his attention. And then, yeah, that's kind of how the other ones happened too, was just fine. And these are stores that are like in the niche of the stuff of the stuff I make. So I think it's easier to find that way too.
Your algorithm was just set up to receive what you were putting out there.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. But yeah, that's been a whole learning curve too.
So did you have to, did you know all the rules about selling to stores at the time? Like, hey, if you have a store here, you probably don't want to sell to a store that's within a mile or two from that one. What about minimums? Like, did you make them order a certain quantity, or were you just like, I'm in a store,
Yeah. No, I just was like, whatever, man. And, and I wasn't aware of like, you don't want to be in two stores too close together. So that was another lesson I kind of had to learn. So yeah, I mean, and I never really had super strict minimum rules. I'm like, let's just get it out there,
right.
Whatever you want.
And did you just go in with your, like, once you talk to them, like, here's my samples, and then produce after they ordered, or did you already have your inventory and then you were just filling it like right away?
It's kind of varied. It's varied a lot. Like, having inventory, keeping inventory, that is one of the hardest parts about this business, and like planning ahead, planning far enough ahead. So you have stuff during the season when they want to buy. That's taken me years to wrap my head around, and I'm still fine tuning that. A lot of these like mom and pop stores are just small business owners too, and so it's kind of easier in a way, because I just always felt like if you just go in there and talk to them and they like you and your stuff's cool, they're figuring it out just as much as you are a lot of the time. Yeah. So, yeah.
And they don't have the rules that the chain stores have, where like the delivery date is a day late or a couple hours late and they turn it away, and nightmare scenarios like that. So selling to another entrepreneur is great.
Yeah. Totally. And and I haven't sold into like big stores yet. So I don't know what that's like yet.
Selling to small stores so much easier.
So yeah, this next like 2-year chapter was like kind of the brand grew more, got a little press, started to get on some cool musicians, still bartending. The business now was like growing a decent amount, but I was still losing money. And I wasn't paying myself, and I started doing like weird things on the side to make money. Like I was buying crates of mirrors from China and reselling them on Facebook Marketplace. So I just found weird ways, but I almost...
Why mirrors?
They just sold really well,
How did you figure that out?
I had sold a mirror, and then people kept asking me for the same mirror, and I was like, can I just buy this mirror, like 100 of these mirrors? And you can. And so I did that, and then people just kept buying them.
Wow, a true entrepreneur.
Yeah, that saved me for like 12 months. That little gig. But
the fact that you were bartending and trying to do all these other things at the same time is such a common story. It's my story. It's probably every entrepreneur I know. And so if you're an entrepreneur and you're like, I need to quit my job and I need full time in this, I mean, unless you're like already a built-in millionaire, you don't do that. Just keep doing what you're doing and plug away at the side after hours and weekends, and
for sure,
it's a hustle. That's what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, the business was losing money. I wasn't paying myself anything, and I would take my bartending money, put it into the business, and just repeat for like years, to the point where I got to a point where I'm like, I might just shut this down, because it was just stupid, And then before I did that, I thought, let me just raise my prices, and I did. And then I started making money.
Yes, probably more sales.
And more sales.
Yep.
Yeah. I still, that first year I sold like a little bit less, but actually made money. And then that kind of opened the door for like this next chapter, which I don't know what's on these slides. Okay. It's a random collection of stuff here, but yeah, that kind of opened the door. All of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I don't have to keep putting money into this business. And then that led to like, okay, now I can actually start paying myself a little bit. And then eventually now it's like my full-time thing. So
Okay, wait. We need to give you a hand. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
I'm not rich by any means, but yeah, but it's it's paying my bills, and so yeah, I mean it took 7 years to get to this point.
Okay, let's just stop and talk about that for a second. 7 years. Most businesses take 3 to 5 years before you're profitable. Fashion, I tell every one of my clients, fashion is much longer than that because nobody values clothing. Nobody thinks clothing should cost what it costs, and it already is being made unethically in giant batches, and that's why it's cheap. So to be able to stay in business for 7 years is probably draining, and I mean, I know it's draining, and it takes so much. I'm blown away that you overcame all of that. And like, I'm so glad that you did. But that's the expectation. You just have to be able to withstand all of that for that long until it kicks in. It was 5 years for me until my business was paying me and making money with my clothing brand. And it was barely like, I'm finally able to make this modest salary after 5 years. So that's
I
hard.
mean, and there's definitely people that make it faster for sure.
If they're like an influencer or something happens where it just takes off for whatever, like celebrity or something like that, but that's rare,
I don't know. I mean, and maybe some of those people are in this room. I have no idea, but this is how long it took me to get here, and it's not over. But yeah, no, it's really hard. Yeah, it just takes, at least for my business, the way I do it, it just takes so much money to buy the inventory, buy it ahead of time. That's like the most challenging part, I think. But yeah, so now I've got an office, which is really cool. And we did a little collaboration with some wallets. I was trying to make a better slide here, but yeah, I don't even know. We're making some chore coats now here in Phoenix, and this is a place we found in Tempe that has an automatic cutter. So I'm super excited about that. Starting to do some outerwear. Yeah, so I kind of feel like the brand's finally got like a little momentum with it, and I can pay my rent. And then this is just a little like highlight reel at the end. So these are some cool musicians that have worn it. Post Malone. This is a band's called Kaleo. Thomas Rhett's a big country musician. And then that's Taylor Sheridan. And we made shirts for the new season of Landman, which is pretty cool. And I don't know, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know for sure if they made the cut, but they paid for them. And they told me they're in them.
Did they buy a bunch of the same shirt?
I made them so they were for Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay, cool.
And so
they were extra small. No,
I think he was medium. Yeah. And I made like 12 different ones, and then they ended up ordering more of like 2.
Okay.
So and then a little press in Arizona Highways recently. So yeah, so some cool people have picked it up, and that's none of these things have really made a difference in terms of sales, but they've helped me psychologically.
Plus, there's things that you can now say on Instagram and stuff like that gets more traction and gives you like some authority.
Yeah. Kind of thing. Yeah, and I think it helps you. Moments like this, at least for me, have helped me develop more confidence, I guess, in myself. Where like, wow, this guy likes it, maybe I don't suck, and so so that's for me, that's how these things have helped me.
That's awesome. Wow. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. We always have everybody ask questions at the end. Did we get through everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go around and see if anybody has questions. First of all, I just want to say one more time, like blown away that you've got this much, invested in this and that it's gotten this far and that you've made it. And I'm so proud of you and so happy. And it
Thank
just
you.
like floats my boat. And I'm so happy that you're here in Arizona because we need more and more brands that are successful coming out of here. So I'm thankful that you are participating in this and that you participate in our stuff because then we, rising tides.
Yeah.
On that floating boat.
Definitely.
Okay. Anybody have questions? Yes. Here, I'm going to bring is the mic even working? Should I bring the mic, Phil? Okay.
So how did you win your customers back after the shirts were too small?
I don't think I did. I think most of them fell off, and I've actually been thinking about this recently, and I think the same thing happened when I raised my prices too. Less fell off, but yeah, I feel like at least my experience has been as I've grown and like the brand's changed and evolved, my customer base has too. So it seems really scary at the time, like, oh my God, these are my first customers. I need to like hold on to them. And hopefully you do. But you also might like grow and develop and become something different for a different group of people too. And I think that's kind of what happened with me. Yeah.
Haley has a brand, so I think that is a great question in case that ever happens, Yeah. It's scary, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen. Like if you're making clothes, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, and everybody I know that's in it happens to them. So
Nick, can you tell me what details would you look for in a shirt that tell you that it's vintage?
Yeah, I would say for me, the things I liked about those old vintage shirts were they were lighter weight and like kind of relaxed and drapey, and like this exactly.
This is
yeah,
falling apart. It's so old.
Yeah, exactly like this. And a lot of the American-made kind of workwear brands, at least at the time, they were doing like real heavy Japanese denim stuff, which was cool, but like hard to wear in Arizona. And so I wanted to do like lighter weight stuff, but American-made was kind of
And the cut too, it's like a slimmer.
I would say, yeah, my cut is like a little slimmer, and little details. Like I put 3 snaps on the cuff where like some of the more modern brands will have 1 or 2. And then, yeah, with sourcing fabric, it's hard. Like I thought I could just make shirts with fabric like that, but you can't. You kind of have to pick from what's available to you. So not everything nails that, but it's always like kind of something I'm thinking about when I'm sourcing fabric.
And then
stuff.
that fabric thing is another good opportunity for some insight and education. When you're a designer, you're not designing your textiles. Usually there's not enough, you can't meet minimums for a mill to make you a fabric. So you're choosing from like the mill's choices that they've already made. And trying to or the converter or the jobber, whoever you're buying it from, they're carrying fabrics in certain colors. So this probably comes in multiple, colors and prints that are similar. And you go to the textile show and you see what the offerings are, and then you pick which ones, and then hopefully they have smaller minimums and you order it that way. So if you had a vision that you wanted your fabric to be super thin and you wanted it to have already a worn look to it, and like you needed a certain print or whatever, that's probably not going to happen. The best thing to do is to go to the textile show, see what's available, and then design something based on what you can get, because it's really frustrating to not be able to find exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And then the details about like making it look worn is a whole nother thing. If you wanted it to look vintage or whatever, that's like an after thing.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing that I don't mess with. Yeah. Yeah.
Yay, another question, Alexis.
Have you ever used dead stock fabric?
I have, and sometimes I still will. I think now the problem is with that. I think for me, it's like both. It's cool to have some dead stock stuff because it's like a limited thing, and but it's also, it sucks when you have something that sells really well, and then you've
Exactly.
invested all this money into photography and marketing, and then you sell out and you're like, that's done.
And then it's hard to source, and then you can't find it because it's like unique.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus like if you have something that you know you can keep getting and it sells well. Like I have shirts that have photos on my website from like 3 years ago that I don't need to like necessarily reshoot this and like kind of
Because it's easy to reorder and then
Yeah.
remake. Exactly. Yeah.
So I
was just
think
curious. Yeah.
and just so I think the more, for me, the more you can find things that sell well that you can kind of like keep making, you make it a little bit easier. But you obviously still want new stuff and like novelty too, but just trying to kind of find that balance.
Yeah, because I know of places that like they sell like big rolls of dead stock. So
Mhm.
it's like you'd probably, if you bought the whole roll and you tried it out as a sampler, like just like run it once and then see if it sells. If it completely sells out, you could just buy that whole roll.
Right. Yeah.
Just, make it easy.
Yeah. I mean, but a whole, and it, for me, like maybe one roll might be 40 yards, that might get me 20 shirts, and then I have to split that across 5 sizes. And so it's really, at least for me, it's like the only way to make money, unfortunately, is like you have to do big volume.
Well, the other thing is every roll might be a different width. And if you've made a marker, your marker is all your pattern pieces laid out in an efficient way so that it can be placed on top of your stack of fabric and cut. You have to pay to have a marker created. And so if you've made a marker for a fabric that's, 58 inches wide or whatever, and then you find another fabric, you're going to have to remake the marker to fit that fabric. And let's say it's narrower or something. So now you have to pay more money to get that marker made so that you can cut that fabric, even though it's the same pattern and everything. So now you're investing more money just to create a few pieces out of that one roll of 40 pieces. It might not be worth it, right?
No.
So that's why it makes sense to just do the same fabric so you can get.
At least for shirts,
Yeah.
For
everything. It's kind of the same thing. When somebody's starting and they're trying to find their fabrics, I'm like, don't go to the jobber. Jobbers sell leftovers. They sell the dead stock. First of all, they don't have the same legal requirements to say what the fabric's made out of. So if you've ever been to places like SAS, you don't even know what it's made out of. And legally, you have to put that on your care label. So first of all, that's an obstacle. But let's say you do know what it's made out of, then this is the problem. You can't get it again. But it's so sustainable to be able to. So it's great advice. And a lot of people build whole businesses on using their dead stock and do limited edition. Capsule collections. Yes, exactly. And then it's got to cost more because you have an investment in creating a new marker every single time for the fabric. Yeah. Raise the price. Exactly. So Alexis is a sourcing expert. If anybody is looking for sources for textiles, she's the person you're going to talk to.
Cool. Yeah. And I do use dead stock fabric too sometimes. It's just not the whole like line, basically. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Astrid.
I'm going to hog the mic here. I have so many questions, but I'll try not to. Behind you, context on these pictures. So how did you find out Post Malone and all these amazing people are wearing your brand? Is it something you stumbled upon or actively,
kind of stumbled on it. Yeah. So one day I got this like huge order. It was like a $3,000 order, and it was like almost one of everything I had in every size. And my first thought was like, this is a scam, And I looked at the order, and it had stylist in the email. So I looked up the lady's name, and it took me to her Instagram, and she had all these photos of Post Malone. So I was like, okay, there were some other artists on her Instagram too. So I didn't know if it was for him or not. So I just shipped them, and I kind of forgot about it. She ended up returning a bunch, but kept maybe 5 or 6 shirts. And then, maybe like a couple months later, just randomly one day, the guy that owns that Cave and Post store texted me, and he was like, hey, is this Post Malone wearing your shirt? And the Post Malone's photographer had shot him at this concert and, posted these photos. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, that is it. And then that stylist just has continued to order from me, and so she's gotten it on like a bunch of artists. Only through like text and email, and I've been meaning to like sit down with her, and tell her thank you. And she buys them too. Like they don't ask anything for free. And that's been an interesting experience because I realized like, these stylists, their job is to spend money and buy clothes. And if just help them out, like you make them look good to these guys, basically. So yeah, that's how it happened.
Second question. So this was born out of inspiration. You love these vintage Western shirts. How do you, now that you're in it and you were an early one in the industry doing this, is there competitors now, or have you kind of started this movement with this style?
No, I mean, I think like the Western shirt has been a thing since like the 30s is when it really kind of just start to become like a category within fashion. And then it's, I think, ebbed and flowed over the years. Like, I think in the 70s, with like John Travolta in that disco movie, like the big, so I think over the years it's ebbed and flowed. But I think it's just like a really timeless style that never really, like sometimes it becomes more popular than others, but it never really goes out of style, in my opinion. So, but yeah, it has definitely kind of blown up recently. And there's definitely way more brands doing it today than before. And, but no, I definitely didn't like start it or create this trend. I think I was just following something I had always loved,
So going back, last question, I promise. Going back to your sales journey, do you think that was invaluable experience now that you're doing this in a way that's, your business?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit. I think it got me used to just getting on the phone and like calling people. And yeah, so I think it like gave me a little bit of confidence on that front. I wasn't like top of the sales team by any means. But yeah, I think it did help. And now that I'm gonna start pushing wholesale more, yeah, you have these moments where you're like, God, can I do this? And then you're like, I was in sales, so I probably, and so you kind of remember those experiences and gives you a little boost. Yeah.
Thanks. Hey, Nick, Rue here.
Hi.
Thank you for allowing us into like the process of you just kind of pressing towards whatever just authentically flowed from you. There's a lot that you said that had me writing some notes for accountability for myself, and you helped to build my confidence. I'm sure you have so many in the room. I had a question around, especially with you having that business background, at what point did you get an attorney for your business?
I actually just got one this year. Yeah, I haven't there haven't been any moments where I've needed one, honestly, like when I think about it. So yeah. But I just this year started to I've had a couple people invest, and so that's why I did it.
Wait, you didn't tell us about this.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not it's not necessarily something it actually wasn't something I ever wanted to do. But I just got to a point where I'm like, I just don't have the capital in the business. Like it's profitable now, but I don't have the capital to like grow this. And so I mean, that's a whole nother long story, but basically there's like a couple people I know really trust that have been successful in business and they wanted to be a part of it. So it was like, let's do this. And so yeah, I had to get a lawyer to set that stuff up. But other than that, I haven't needed one.
Yes. Okay. So what I have a inspiration t-shirt apparel line, and I feel oftentimes like a pressure to like protect the intellectual property.
Mm.
And so have you encountered any pressure when it comes to that?
And you're like making the designs. I mean, I think that's actually interesting. That's a different, because I'm not doing any graphic or any type of design like that, and I have seen on the internet people get ripped off. I think art like that can get copied and ripped off more easily. For me, no, there's nothing I'm doing where I'm like,
You can't own the Western shirt design. Anybody can
Right.
make a Western shirt, basically. So
yeah. So not really. I mean, I have like a trademark on my name and things like that. But yeah, I think that's an interesting question, and maybe someone that's more in that space would know. I'm sure there's a
it's
solution.
expensive to protect each and every piece of artwork too. So sometimes it's just not worth it because of that.
But I kind of feel like don't worry about it, and if it does happen, now you have like a cool thing to go viral about and share, So yeah, you're like, I'm getting ripped off, and those videos do well, I think.
Right.
So
Any other questions? Oh, good. Okay, Janelle.
Hi. Did you have any type of like milestone in mind where you thought, okay, once I hit this point, then I'll branch out to do outerwear or whatever other clothing item?
yeah, I think I've just kind of been following what's working and not working, and then also, yeah, just my own creative itch, like I've just done shirts for 7 years, and so I kind of gotten to a point where I'm like, I need to just try some different stuff. And then also like the sales on our Western shirts are continuing to grow, but it's a very specific thing, and they're really difficult to make. They're really expensive to make, and there's a lot of other things you can make in the US that are easier. So I think part of the interest in doing other stuff too is just kind of growing the business, reaching new customers, scratching more of a creative itch, and and hopefully making things a little easier, because woven shirts are really difficult.
And do you think that you would venture out into like accessories or women's wear?
You're making wallets, right?
We did, yeah. I did a little. That's a wallet brand that's based here in. They're in Apache Junction, called Lost Dutchman. But I'm actually working on a belt right now. So there's a vintage belt that one of the models I shoot with wears all the time, and people always ask about it. And so I was like, let's 100, like that experience kind of taught me to like pay attention to those signals, like it's like this idea of make things people want to buy. That's been a hard lesson for me to learn. And I'm still learning it, but yeah, trying to pay more attention to like, what are people asking me for, and like following those trails.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I think your story is really inspiring and all the obstacles you shared with us and your perseverance. Congratulations on everything you're doing right now. But I do have a couple of questions if you don't mind me asking. More on sustainability aspect. So do you focus on sustainability in your designs and how? Yeah, if you do.
Yeah.
I just want to come to your rescue before anything. When you make small batches domestically, right there, that ticks the sustainability box. You're not overproducing. You're not sitting on thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pieces like big brands are. You know who made the stuff. So you're ethically making something. That's all the most sustainable thing that you can actually do. There's sustainable fabrics, and there's zero waste patterns, and there's other processes that can be sustainable too. But of all the impact that all of the things, the choices that there are to be sustainable, it's making small batches domestically. That's the one. But now I'm going to let you answer if there's anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it's not necessarily something I'm like focused on. I think like if that is kind of a part of your brand, like you are a sustainable brand, that's what you're selling, your customers are buying that. I think it's super important. If it's not that, I think, I mean, it's like, don't be unethical. Don't waste stuff. Don't use plastic if you don't need to use plastic. Like, there's a lot of those things that I just feel internally and make those decisions. But it's so hard. I mean, at least for me, uh, like starting a clothing brand is relatively easy, and like the barrier to entry is relatively low, which is why it's a great business to start. But making one super successful is insanely difficult. And so I think you just kind of come to these moments where you're like, what am I going to focus on and put my energy towards? And if sustainability is what you're selling, then that's your, North Star. But if it's not, you got to kind of like focus on, there might be an organic cotton option and one that's not organic, and the organic one is cheaper and you're going to get a better margin, and that's going to allow you to make more stuff and pay your rent. Like, you got to sometimes make those decisions,
Any other? Oh, yes, Christian.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of questions as well. Great job. Love the brand.
Thanks.
You found a new customer. You mentioned you raised some money through investors. Was there any reason why you raised as opposed to getting a loan? Was it just cash flow, or was there other reasons?
It's a good question, and this is like a total new frontier for me. So for the 7 years that I did this, it was just bootstrapped. Like, I used all the money I had saved up in, like, I had a retirement account I had built up from working other jobs and then bartending. And so, yeah, it was, I didn't want to ever have to raise money. And throughout all of those 7 years, I did use different, like, Shopify Capital, zero interest rate credit cards, and like playing that game. So yeah, I've done it all. And, but I think I just got to a point where, it would, I saw like a lot of things working, and, the business wasn't losing money anymore. And there were people that wanted to invest that also I thought could be really helpful too. And, I don't know. So I kind of just got to this point where I'm like, I sort of want to try this, and this is kind of a new experience I just want to go through, sort of. But also, yeah, for it, because you can also get like lines of credit and stuff for inventory, but I didn't even have enough cash to get like the loan I would really need at like a low enough interest rate to buy the inventory I needed. So yeah, yeah.
And then who's your ideal customer profile? Who's buying your stuff today? I know you said like it kind of evolved over time, but who's your ideal customer profile today?
There's kind of like a few different ones. I've realized there's like the kind of workwear guy, and he's maybe the best because, these are guys that buy like selvage denim, and they appreciate and wear and kind of geek out about well-made, American-made, or like Japanese-made stuff. And so like, high price points don't scare them, Then there's kind of more like the cowboy dude, and that's a weird space because a lot of the Western shirt brands are really in it. Like, the shirts are much cheaper than mine. And so I think a lot of those customers see my stuff and get scared, or they call me a fake cowboy and stuff like that. And, but there are guys in that world too that appreciate American made. And, so those are kind of the two groups. And then you've got just like the regular dude, living in the city, wants a nice shirt, likes the vibe. And then you have women buying for their, these aren't all the people, but generally, women buying for their boyfriend, husband, dad, things like that. Cause I feel like generally speaking, women shop more. And I'm starting to realize those are great customers to have. So
And
yeah.
then somewhat related to that is, how are you acquiring your customers? Is it, I'm assuming, social media, but is ad spend, Google ads,
Yeah.
Instagram, email blasts, texting,
All of it. Yeah. So posting just organically on social media. We run ads on social media too, email campaigns, email marketing, wholesale has helped a lot too. Just get it out there, and then just time. Like it's just taking me time to just get the word out. So kind of a combination of all those things.
One more thing.
Okay.
Put your sales hat back on.
Okay.
Talk to that stylist and get Post Malone to start talking about your brand. We had one or two viral moments, and it did change, our kind of direction.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. And I kind of have played it cool with her because I'm like, she's buying it, she's getting it out there. My thought with it has been like, just get her what she needs and don't ask for anything yet. But yeah, totally. That's kind of my thought. Although he just started a Western brand, so I don't know if I don't know if he's still gonna wear it, but yeah, he makes Western shirts now. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
All right. Any other questions? Oh, yes.
Where do you manufacture your clothes, your shirts?
So there's two factories. There's one in LA and one in Utah. And then there's another one in Texas that I might start working with too.
So that's a cost factor.
Mm-hmm.
So sell right from factory, or do you have them all shipped back to you?
Yeah, I have them shipped back. Unfortunately, I wish they would hold it and ship from there. But yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the challenges with American made is the factories will do the cut and sew and like kind of nothing else.
There's not enough volume that you're giving them to make it worth their while to do your fulfillment as well, and store all your stuff. Like that's a whole different business
Yeah.
model.
General manufacturing.
I mean, it varies. I think like this year we made maybe close to 2,000 shirts, which, is a lot for me, but yeah, so, a typical production run, what's nice is, so I was manufacturing in LA at the big factory, at a bigger factory, losing money. I had a lower price point. Then I found this smaller factory, which I also found through Scott through Fabric. And they had no minimums. So I raised my price, moved the production to them. That allowed me to make more stuff in lower volumes, and that kind of turned my business around. And then I've kept them, and now I'm back at the bigger factory. So I've kind of got both. I can do big runs, and then I can just do little smaller runs too. But yeah, the bigger factory might make anywhere from 200 to 500-600 shirts. Smaller ones like 20, 30, 50.
Maybe I could connect the two of you.
So
feel comfortable because we can.
Yeah, well, we can chat. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, Christian?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've looked into it, and there must be a solution, but every time I've looked into it and I've kind of looked at the math, it's like you need to have a bin, like a separate bin for every SKU for every size. And each one of those bins is like $5 a month or something. And I'm constantly making new stuff. And so, yeah, I think it would start to get really expensive. Like, I think for me, when I had looked at it in the past, it was like, I need to do a lot, like a huge volume for this to, I think, make more sense. And yeah, I've just been scrappy, and it's like, okay, I can keep this stuff in my closet and do it myself for now. You know?
That's what I did. Even after 5 years of doing it, I was still the one shipping everything out.
Yeah.
hmm
But I think it. Or sorry, go ahead.
No, I saw another hand. I was just going to walk over. But keep answering. Raise your hand if you were going to ask a question. I'll make my way over there. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think the ideal scenario though is if you have a clothing brand where you have a simple product or smaller selection, and you can buy deeper into it and then do that. That's like a better business for sure.
My question was with, I guess, country getting back into trend through music and fashion, have you seen a boost in your sales?
I mean, we've grown every year, so it's hard for me to. There hasn't been like one moment where it just went like nuclear, you know? And yeah, I don't know. I think about that sometimes. Like, I think it definitely hasn't hurt, you know, but there's also way more competition today too. And you're competing with all of these other brands basically on the internet for people's attention. And then most of them are made overseas, so they have better margins and a lower price point, and they can spend more on advertising. So it's like it's a double-edged sword. And obviously there's a million different ways around that and creative things you can do. But so yeah, it's helped, but there's also more competition. Like pushing what way?
I guess like, well, I know.
Right.
But you didn't like, they looked for you, but have you tried, I don't know, just go like pushing more of your Western within either your social media or just
Yeah.
more of your style, I guess? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I am actively trying to promote it as much as humanly possible. Yeah, so but yeah, I mean there's always so many more things you can do, and you just kind of like check one box at a time, one thing after the next. But yeah, I try to post like on social media. I try to do every day. I send like an email campaign every week. We run ads all the time. So you're constantly trying to make stuff and simultaneously promote it. Yeah.
Nick, what's your team size?
My team size? What do you mean?
Is it you?
Oh, it's basically just me. I mean,
That's incredible.
but I will say like a lot of people have helped and still help. And it's a lot of there's a lot of contractors and freelancers I work with, like Jamie, my pattern maker. I have a bookkeeper. There's a guy that runs my ads, photographers I work with. I do have a part-time person now who's packing and fulfilling orders for me. But yeah, so I'm like the sole operator right now, but there are a lot of people around me that I'm paying that are helping too.
So you manage your content. So you do your social media, you're doing your admin, you're doing the financial stuff. Like, yeah,
it's a lot.
That's incredible what you built and continue to sustain with being your sole employee.
Yeah, no, yeah, thanks. I mean, it is, and thank you. I think for me, the next thing I'm trying to learn is to not try to do everything too, which is like, it's kind of an Achilles heel too. Cause yeah, my natural instinct is like, I'll do it. Let's save money. I'll do it and figure it out. And that helps, but also it limits your growth too, which is a lesson I'm kind of going through right now. Because there's just too much to do, you know, like if you think about it, you need probably, once you get to a certain level, you need a dedicated person that's just running production and ordering fabric and paying vendor and like making sure things are getting made and ordered on time. So like that's a whole role, and then you need a full-time person just doing like content, social media, and there's all these other roles, and they just get busier and busier as you grow. So anytime I'm doing one thing, all the other things are not being done, basically. And so, I just think, but you got to be able to pay people to help you. So it's like a very tricky dance. Yeah.
I presume most of your sales in the US. Any thoughts going overseas? Just some of the things I've seen. Made in Milan sells better in the US sometimes than I think made in the US, which is kind of shocking.
For
But
sure.
made in the US sells better overseas in Asia and Australia and Europe. Any thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in one store in Italy right now, and but yeah, I think, and I will occasionally get an order from overseas. And there was one in Canada, which he had to cancel because of the tariff situation, which kind of sucked. But so yeah, everything's kind of a nightmare right now with that. But yeah, the plan is eventually, like, I think parts of Asia and like Northern Europe really like this style for sure. Yeah.
All right, I'll take one more question and then we're going to wrap it up. But before we wrap it up, I don't want everybody to leave right away. I'm hoping we can take a big group photo. I'd love to get a photo where you can stand right here and have this audience behind you, and I'll take it. Is everybody okay with that? Are you okay with that? Okay, we're going to ask one last question.
So my last question for you is, you did touch about how you started working with fabric, but how did you hear about fabric? Was it a Google search? Was it a friend? I'm curious to know, how did you find out about fabric?
Yeah.
And what made you like, I know Angela said a scholarship, but like what made you say yes to working with fabric or learning with fabric?
Yeah, I think, well, so I was in LA when I started it, and then I moved back here, and then moved into my mom's house, you know? And so part of it was like, I just want to meet people that are in. What's nice about LA is there's so many people doing this on like the highest levels everywhere. Here, it can feel a little more isolating, I think, and it's like a little weirder, you know? Where out there, it's like it's a very normal thing to be involved in. So part of it was just that. And then I make everything in the US, and I'm constantly looking for factories too. Even though I have the ones I have now, I'm always still asking people, still searching. And I think it was through that I was looking to see if I could make stuff here in Phoenix, and then, you know, they
pop up pretty quickly on a Google search.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
I'm
how.
glad you found us.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just want to say again, I'm so blown away, and thank you for sharing all of that with us. I know it's, scary to get up in front of people and tell your whole entire story and open up like that. And I appreciate you doing that. So let's give him a big round of applause. And again, I really appreciate all of you for coming and supporting an entrepreneur and listening and asking so many amazing questions and being here for Fabric as well. I really hope that all of you will come to the Label Horde Fashion Show. You need to sign up. You need to be in the Label Horde Fashion Show. Don't be that guy that doesn't do it. Be in it. It's one piece. You just grab one piece off that rack and you put it on one model. It can even be you if you want to. Yes, you got to be part of the community. And so all of you, I hope to see all of you at that event. There's free tickets, and then seated tickets are $15, and the highest price is $50. So there's no excuse not to be there. And then lastly, please come next month. Again, every month we do this. It's going to be usually the last Thursday of the month, but it's the week before because of the holiday. So come to the next one as well. We always post this. If you're not on our newsletter, make sure you get our newsletter. That's how I'm able to share all these things with you. And again, it means so much to me. Again, I'm a one-person show right now too. We reduced our staff. I'm trying to run this whole place right now with some contractors, but it means a lot to me when you guys come to these things. It takes so much effort to put together. So I appreciate you all.